In this video, we're doing another Key comic book spotlight, this time on the strongest Avenger, Thor. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're doing another Key comic book spotlight, this time on Thor, the God of Thunder. Now, if you're new to this series or my channel, what I typically do with Key comic book spotlight is point out 5 Key or Grail comic books that the comic book collecting community often pursues when they're fans of this character. So this video isn't necessarily here to identify Spec, but more so point to new comic book collectors what some of the good books to collect are for maybe their favorite character. But before I get into this week's video, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Love interacting with you guys. Help support the channel. Do one of those things and I would appreciate it. All right. With that said, let's get into today's video. And this one is going to be on Thor, the God of Thunder, or the strongest Avenger, depending on how you want to refer to him. And again, with all my Key comic book spotlight videos, it's always hard to narrow it down to 5 books. And like my previous book, previous video, Thor's brother Loki, I cheated once again in this, and you will see what I mean by cheating. I picked more than 5 books, but thematically they all relate. But let's get into my first pick here, and this one for sure is Thor's ultimate Grail book, and that is going to be Journey into Mystery number 83. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of Thor, the God of Thunder. It's also the first appearance of Mjolnir, as you can see him there holding Mjolnir in his hand as he battles some of the I think they're Korg, the alien race that Korg actually plays in the Thor Ragnarok. So Journey into Mystery 83, the first appearance of Thor, one of the great Silver Age comic books. I mean, you want to talk about like some of the biggest books to come out in this era. I mean, aside from the fact that if you're a fan of Thor, this is the ultimate Grail book. I mean, this is one of those books that everybody who is a passionate comic book collector wants to get their hands on. I mean, this is right up there with Amazing Fantasy 15 or Tales of Suspense 39 or books like that. This is also one of the ultimate blue chip super Grail books, Journey into Mystery 83, because actually this book, Thor as a character, came out a little bit before some of the other characters that we know. So that's something that's really interesting about this one, is that this book came out in 1962, which makes it a little bit older than some of the Grail Silver Age books. And for that reason, I think that is generally reflected in the price, because this overall is a really hard book to come by. And as we dig into the numbers, you will see why. So here on the census, there is no 9.8s and 9.6s, but there was a 9.4 that sold in May of 2020 for $310,000. So really interesting. It hasn't been too many sales, in the last comic book boom within the last sort of 6 months. So it would be really interesting to see what this book would yield on the high end, but still nothing to sneeze at, $310,000. And if you scroll down here to the bottom, you're not going to find this book for anything lower than, that $3,000 range. And even then, I think you would have a hard time finding it for that cheap. But, this is just a great Grail. If you are a fan of Thor, if you are a fan of Odin's son, Journey into Mystery 83, one of the best Silver Age Marvel books that you can ever hope to get your hands on. All right, let's move on now to my next book. And my next book here is going to be Journey into Mystery number 89. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the origin of Thor. So, we saw his first appearance in number 83. He would go on to have 6 more books, or I guess 5 more. And then the 6th one here would be Journey into Mystery 89. And this would be the book that digs into his background and his origin. And what's really cool about this, I think that, people are really passionate about, is just look at that cover. I mean, that cover is incredible. It's just a classic, super heroic pose of Odin's son here, starring the mighty Thor, has the great banner going across it. And I think that this one is just sort of a, before there were instant classic covers, I mean, this was like one of the first classic covers. So Journey into Mystery 89, a super awesome book to have in your collection if you are a fan of Thor. And as we dig into the numbers here, you'll see there is a 9.6 that was on the census, sold in September 2020 for $18,000. And at the low end here, you're going to find numbers up and down, but typically speaking, it says here $130, but generally speaking, when I go onto eBay and search around for this book, I mean, I have a hard time finding this for less than $200. So it's going to cost you a couple hundred to get your hands on this, even at the very low end, but for good reason. This is a great Grail book to have if you are a fan of the Thor character, his origin. Journey into Mystery 89. What more to say about it? All right, let's go on now to my third pick here. My third pick is actually going to be my third 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th pick. And then let me explain where I'm going with this. So I'm typically going to point out to Journey into Mystery number 112 here first. But why am I pointing out to this one? Well, what I like about this is, something about the Thor character throughout Marvel history is that he always seems to find himself battling other heroic superhero characters. And there are always a plethora of amazing covers where Thor takes on some of those other superheroes. So for instance, in this book right here, Journey into Mystery 112, this is the first time that Thor went against the Hulk, and it's just represented in such an iconic way here on this cover. Similarly, they would go on to have many other iconic covers where they would have battles. And that was, for instance, here in Defenders number 10, where we see, again, another classic cover of Thor battling the Incredible Hulk. And if we kind of move on to the other books here, we see Journey into Mystery Annual 1. This is Thor versus Hercules right there. And he would also go on, in the start of the Thor run, Thor 126, this is another battle of Thor versus Hercules. So this is also a really cool book because this is the start of the Thor solo series where you see his name in the title there, the Mighty Thor. Previously, for those who don't know, Thor had always had his solo stories taking place in a comic book run known as Journey into Mystery. So, as I mentioned earlier in this video, he made his first appearance in Journey into Mystery 83, which means that there were 82 books, right, that came previously before his first appearance. So there was Journey into Mystery had been going on for a long time. Well, eventually that book, Journey into Mystery, would be retitled to this one right here, Thor 126. So, they would keep the number 126 as it, related to the previous Journey into Mysteries, but this is the first time you're going to see Thor as being, the main title on this book. So for that reason, of the battle books, I think that this one is extra special within this group. Another one here, Silver Surfer number 4, where we see the classic battle, the John Buscema art, Silver Surfer versus Thor. I mean, this is an incredible cover. And I think, if we ever get Silver Surfer in the MCU and he ever meets Thor, I have a feeling that they're going to do battle, and hopefully in some way it'll be on the Rainbow Bridge and they'll be able to recreate this cover. But again, so many battle covers here. You have Iron Man number 66, Thor versus Iron Man, and then you have here the Invaders, Thor versus Namor the Submariner. So what's really cool about Thor to me, as far as like a comic book collector and pointing out his key comic books, is I think that the battle cover with specifically the superhero versus the superhero I think that is something iconic to Thor Odinson. So any one of these books that you want to get your hands on, I think is a great book to pick up for Thor, and for that reason, it is my third pick on his key comic book spotlight. All right, let's go on now to my fourth pick here. My fourth pick is actually going to be kind of a funny one. This one is Guardians of the Galaxy number 41. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually now qualified as the first appearance of Fat Thor. And why did I want to point to this? Well, being that Endgame was the event film that it was, and now, if you're a comic book collector, maybe you're getting back into the hobby, or maybe you're getting into the hobby for the first time because you've been so passionate about these MCU films. Well, Guardians of the Galaxy 41, this is the first time where we see Thor with that beer belly. He's become fat. And for that reason, this has kind of made this book a super unique collector item for that reason. So this is a really cool, kind of fun, cheeky little Marvel Easter egg, if you want to call it that, to get your hands on if you are a fan of Fat Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy number 41. And as we look here onto the census, what I think is interesting is you can see that people have recently become aware of this book, where a 9.8 sold in March here, $130, and you're not going to find this book slabbed anywhere else on the census. But typically speaking, when I go onto eBay, you can see that this book is selling around that $15, $20 mark, because hey, why wouldn't you want to have your hands on a Fat Thor book? All right, let's go on now to my last pick here. And my last pick is actually going to be Original Sin number 7, which came out in 2014. And what is the significance of this? Well, Original Sin number 7, this is the book where Thor actually becomes unworthy. And why I point to this book specifically as being sort of a key comic book within Thor's historic run of comic books is because, to me, Thor being worthy of lifting Mjolnir and the hammer and being able to take on the burden of what it means to be sort of a god and the leader of Asgard, that is the core of his character, is him being worthy, or I guess I could say feeling like he's not worthy. And what I like about this book in particular is that this is the manifestation of that. This is the manifestation of all of the fears, all of the motivators that drive Thor Odinson to not want to fail, so to speak, and having the the burden and the weight of his own destiny, choking on him at all times. Well, this is where it does manifest. And because, it was whispered to him by Nick Fury that Gore the God Butcher actually, told him that, hey, all gods are flawed. And for that reason, Thor believed that, and he was unable to wield Mjolnir after that. So this one is really interesting one. And I do think that, once we get that Thor Love and Thunder movie, if we know that Jane Foster and maybe someone like a Beta Ray Bill is going to play a role in it, and maybe they're going to wield Mjolnir, perhaps that storyline will manifest here where Thor will be unable to lift it anymore. So Original Sin number 7 gets my 5th pick as a key comic book for Thor Odin's Son. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those are my 5, I guess you could call them, key comic books for Thor. I mean, again, there are so many key comic books for this character. He is such an amazing one. I would love to get a Journey into Mystery 83, but, I would love to get every Grail book that there is from the Silver Age. So we'll see if I ever get my hands on that one. But hey, at least I got this one right here, a great battle cover, Silver Surfer versus Thor. Anyways, let me know if you guys have any of these books. Let me know if you think that there are other key or Grail comic books that I should be talking about for Thor. Drop me a like, comment, or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next video.